Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Penik, and we got ourselves a Raiders preview. Justin, Antonio Pierce is head coaching the other team. They just signed Jalen Smith. I think Antonio Pierce just wanted to be like, hey, look, it's the best Giants linebacker and the worst Giants linebacker in the last 20 years. How are you?
Ha ha ha. Hi, Bobby Skinner. We're going to be streaming, you and I, plus Grump and the Cranky Fan, everybody knows them, for the John Boy Media Office this Sunday. So I'm excited to hear their perspective on what's going on with the Giants this year. And, as we all watch the game and as we all react to the game together. So check that out. That'll be on the main YouTube channel. You can watch along with us. Man, I'm really, I don't know if I'm excited or I'm scared of this ultra revenge game that we have going on with Antonio Pierce being, promoted to head coach, not Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham is still the defensive coordinator. And then also, one of our golden rules is never bet against a team that just fired their head coach and now it's the first game of the interim head coach. There's a lot of bad things going against the Giants right now.
Yeah, and we joked about it earlier in a group chat for our John Boy Media Against the Spread League. It's like Jeff Saturday went 1-7 as a head coach. The one win was the first game. I actually do believe in that. It just gives the team juice, kind of gets people on their heels. That being said, the Giants are kind of way more talented than the Raiders, as crazy as that sounds, and especially so when you have Daniel Jones and Andrew Thomas most likely back. But I mean, this game, the Giants and the Raiders right now, if you combine their scoring points per game, would only be the number 5 team in the NFL, which means there's 4 teams in the NFL that are scoring more than these teams do on brought together. So this is an under game for the Giants, and we'll get into all the ins and outs of it. But I do, as crazy as it sounds, I actually think the Giants are kind of simply the better team.
Yeah. Darren Waller being out does complicate that a little bit, but I will say Daniel Jones and Andrew Thomas coming back does outweigh a lot of that. I mean, Andrew Thomas, left tackle being the second most valuable position in the game of football. And we do, at the end of the day, it's I do view Daniel Jones an upgrade over Tyrod Taylor, even though Tyrod was operating the offense better than Daniel Jones. I'm excited for Daniel Jones to come back and to see what he's going to be like with Andrew Thomas at left tackle. But it's going to be, I have a feeling, man, it's going to be why do I have a feeling that this is going to be like a Houston Texans game last year where there's a defensive front in the Raiders that can be had when the Giants are running the ball, but the Giants don't have the best run-blocking offensive line, so this could easily be a let's hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley 40 times game, have an efficient enough of a passing game, and play good defense. I have a feeling that could be the approach.
Yeah, I actually think that will be the approach, especially with DJ coming back from the injury. You want to try and build some confidence back, but I do think Andrew Thomas being back is so important for them, right? When you just have that left tackle, and again, Daniel Jones' success and Andrew Thomas is correlates to essentially Andrew Thomas being on the field. If you want to look back at 2021, the splits of with and without him are pretty eye opening. How much of a difference that he makes. We do think Evan Neal's going to be back in, which I don't view as a huge upgrade. Just before we get into all the ins and outs, though, this episode is brought to you by some special people. We got Giuseppe Salomone. Pretty sure that is a fake name for the pizza people. We just got, if not, welcome, Giuseppe. We got just Joe, regular old Joe Mama, Shane O'Connor. Oh, Shane Connor, Jared Rodriguez, Jared Davis Rodriguez, Alex Rodriguez, and then Jordan Fash. Jordan Fash likes cash, and he's fast. That's how you say fast in Portuguese. Fash. Justin, who are these people?
Is that actually true?
No, but they say shh at the end of everything. Obrigado. Justin, who are these people?
Patreon.com/TalkGiants. That's where these wonderful people, including Giuseppe, went. Giuseppe's a real person, not a play on pizza people. Patreon.com/TalkGiants. $2 a month to get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. Bobby Skinner was sending some stickers in the mail. Plus, there's some shirt raffles. I'm wearing one of the new shirts. Very simple. I like it. East 2019. Patreon.com/TalkGiants. Speaking of Shane.
That's established.
Why? Oh, I said East?
Yeah. which actually I didn't know we had an established 2019 shirt. I might actually get that.
Uh-huh.
And join now, by the way, because the shirt contest, it's the drawings for that are up now. So you can get in within the next 3 days, and you'll be in the raffle for the t-shirt contest.
Speaking of Shane, Ian Rappaport gave some love on the Leonard Williams video you clipped up.
Oh, the whole league did. I honestly almost didn't post that. I was like, this is a little too long, a little too boring. But I was like, you know what? I wanted to put anytime someone's traded, I post something from that original press conference, and I ended up that being it, and it blew up quick. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, Albert Breer got on it. Somebody from PFF I saw.
David Bakhtiari.
Yeah, somebody they got on it. So good for you for posting that big win.
Yeah, I mean it's just a press conference. At the end of the day, I'm not like proud of posting a press conference clips. You know what I mean? I can't take a compliment. Raiders defense, 22nd ranked defense, 23.4 per game. 23.4 points per game. But I really do think their offense makes their defense worse. But because they're 13th in yards per play, and their passing defense, and actually their rushing defense is really bad. This is not a talented defense, Justin. Right. And I actually think Patrick Graham is doing a pretty solid job with this group, considering the talent, because it's really Max Crosby. Like who's the second best player on that defense? Marcus Peters?
It's supposed to be Tyree Wilson, which I almost forgot that they drafted him in the first round. What is he doing? He's playing.
Yeah, he does not look good. I mean, I think he had like a 0.0 pass rush win rate. I know he got hurt in that last game, so I'm not even exactly sure if he's going to be playing.
Drafted at the top 10.
Yeah, he was always viewed as a project, but to be this bad so far, yeah.
Max Crosby is playing like almost better than he has like in his entire career. Now the QB hits aren't there, but man, he's on pace to have the most pressures that he's had in his entire career. The sacks are there. I watched him versus Penik Sewell last week. I don't know if you did, Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
Penik Sewell held up relatively well in some like statistical categories. Like if you look at it afterwards, Max Crosby got the best of him on a decent amount of plays, including some run plays as well. And Penik Sewell, him and his feet are just fantastic. He's so quick, but Crosby using his hands, and I think Penik Sewell probably won the battle in terms of getting out of his stance and athleticism. But Crosby, I think, just used his hands just so well. So if it's going to be Crosby lining up the majority on the right side, whether that's Evan Neal or Tyree Phillips, obviously that's not a matchup that you're feeling great about.
No. I mean, that is their defense. It's essentially Max Crosby, right? He has 6.5 sacks. Who's second on their team?
I think they're all like tied for 1 sack. I don't think
there's like a bunch of guys tied with 1 sack. They're only getting 2 sacks per game, which is like bottom of the league, despite having Max Crosby getting good numbers. Now they don't blitz, but it's unlike the team we just played, where it's like, yeah, Jets don't blitz. They don't get any pressure. They're like worse than the NFL at generating pressure. And again, that's including Max Crosby. So the rest of the offensive line is pretty bad. So you would expect DJ to have some time now that Andrew Thomas is back. But that being said, they do keep everything in front of them. It is kind of typical. We're kind of seeing 2021 version of Patrick Graham, where, 4th lowest in yards per catch, 8th in yards per attempt against them, the lowest average depth of target against, and they play their guys from off coverage. They kind of, try and close in off of that. And Patrick Graham is living out of 2 high, but he likes to rotate into cover 3 a ton. And then he'll get into man coverage here and there. But it's kind of, he's living a bend, don't break defense.
Yeah, fewest amount of explosive plays allowed for this Patrick Graham Las Vegas Raider defense. And if that sentence sounds familiar, it's because 2020 and 2021, primarily 2020, I mean, we know that this Giants defense, they just did not allow explosive plays of 20-plus yards. And that's what this Patrick Graham defense is doing. They're not allowing big explosive passing plays. I will say there is a linebacker that I really like, Robert Spillane. He was an undrafted free agent out of 2018. He's played the last couple years with the Steelers, and now this year he's gone to the Raiders. Number 41. I like him. I don't really there's been some times where the Raiders have been on primetime, and it's like, why are you on primetime? So I've stumbled upon watching some Raiders games, and I just like how he kind of flies around the field. So that's an observation.
He moves well, and their other linebacker is Divine Diablo, who's a former remember he's that safety from Virginia Tech, and did the breakdown of him intercepting Trevor Lawrence in that class. Was a big safety, obviously at 6'4", but he's playing linebacker, right? And so they're putting an emphasis on their coverage, despite not having a plethora of talent on that defense. But the downside of the way that like all that good stuff we said about their pass defense, Justin, is that their run defense is horrible. It's the third worst rushing team in the NFL. They're giving up 4.5 yards per carry. And like you said, you have a safety playing linebacker. And to get Max Crosby one-on-ones, they use these wide alignments. And that just gives you more room to work some gap runs. And then when you do zone, it just gives wider lanes. Like it's this is a game, Justin. Like I think you nailed it. Hit the nail on the head. That the Giants, with the way everything is going, that they're going to try and run the ball, and I think this may be their best rushing game of the year, probably.
Now, what do you mean by best? Like most efficient? Do you think it's going to be the best just volume wise? Because I think that's the question here.
I think if they aren't just trying to pound it, it'll be their most efficient. But if they do try and pound it, they'll be efficient and have their most volume. But it depends if this defense and Antonio Pierce and all them like see this Giants team and say, hey, we're going to stop the run, right? Like, remember we played the Houston Texans last year, like you brought up, and their run defense was horrible, god awful, right? And going into that game, it's like, hey, run the ball. But the Texans, for playing the Giants, sold out on the run, and it left them so vulnerable. I don't see Patrick Graham doing that, right? Because we kind of know the personality of Patrick Graham. I don't see him getting away from that for this Giants game, unless it's an Antonio Pierce influence game plan, right? Which can obviously happen. It's like, hey, we're going to stop the run week one. We're going to stop Saquon Barkley, which I actually think is a realistic way that Pierce might guide them for this game.
Now, what's the plan without Darren Waller? Because you have one blocking tight end on the roster and Daniel Bellinger, so this is an opportunity for you to go on and get another rant why it doesn't make sense to only have one blocking tight end on the roster. Who is Lawrence Cager? Like, what's the plan at tight end now that Darren Waller's out? He's probably out for a few weeks, which sucks.
Which my heart's not broken about that because the Giants are 2-6. My heart is broken that this didn't happen 1 week later, so the Darren Waller revenge game tweet would have hit a little harder. Instead, I'm going to have everyone explaining to me that he's injured. I think they're going to try and get Cager pretty involved in the passing game this week, right? Because you can get them in the middle of the field. And I just think that's what they're going to do. And they're going to try and run a good amount of two tight end stuff because I don't see this being a Jalen Hyatt game. And are they going to want to put Isaiah Hodgins on the field, who probably be better suited than Hyatt versus this type of defense? But again, against the Giants, man, I really would go look to scour practice squads for a blocking tight end because it's going to allow you to run the ball better, which you want to do. And it's going to allow you to get into your play action 2-man routes, which, again, you're going to want to do without Darren Waller, who does create a lot of attention and allow you to get explosives. So I really think they should go out there and do it. Like I was on Jordan's podcast, right? And we were talking about going forward with the Waller injury. And it's like, man, like the Giants right now with Lawrence Cager and Daniel Bellinger, they couldn't do what they did at the end of the Jags game last year, right? Where they're like, hey, the run's there, we're gonna run power, it's gonna work. You don't have the personnel to do that. So they're not gonna have it for this game, but I do think they're gonna try and get Cager pretty involved in the passing game.
All right, anything else like Daniel Jones, anything else before we move to the Giants defense side of the ball?
Do you think this Giants offense will look good versus the Raiders defense? I think those probably be their second best game after the Cardinals game. I actually think their second best game is putting up 14 points versus the Commanders. I think, I hate to say this coming off of that, but I do think they put up like 24 to 28 points.
I think that's a little too much.
I think the low average depth of target plays into the way Daniel Jones plays. Andrew Thomas is back. Saquon will be fully healthy against a bad rushing defense. I think they actually look halfway decent on offense this game.
Yeah, maybe. But I think being good, having a good game for the Giants standard of what we set in 2023 is exactly what you said, scoring 23 points. 20, I think 20, I'm going to go 23 just because I'm going to be an asshole, a little bit more of a pessimist than you. 23 points and not 24 to 28. I would be surprised if we're creeping towards 30.
All right, I'm extremely invested then. Do they score more than 23 and a half over or under for the Giants? I wonder what it is on DraftKings. I am shocked that the Giants are not favored in this game. But all right, Justin, with the Raiders offense, it's really bad. Now they're making a QB change. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to talk about something.
No, talk about something.
I'm going to talk about Manscaped, Bobby Skinner. It's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's Antonio Pierce. Nope, it's the most revolutionary ball trimmer the world has ever seen. You think Antonio, I mean, look at that. He got a bald head. You know Antonio Pierce has got to trim down south correctly. And gentlemen, our friends over at Manscaped, they've been working night and day to bring you a below-the-waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Upgrade your grooming game to the Ultrasphere this year by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code GIANTS. High tech for low places. I got friends in low places, Bobby Skinner. With Manscaped, 5th generational trimmer, 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads. Whoa. A standard one for taking a little off the top, and then a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Man, does that make me feel good. I got options, people. Get 20% off with free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. I can promise you've never seen a ball trimmer look like a spaceship, and oh boy, it does. Get yours today from our folks at Manscaped. Bobby Skinner, you will be glad you did.
Be glad you did. Raiders offense is really bad. 30th ranked scoring offense in the NFL. Number 22 in passing offense and yards per attempt. Their offensive line isn't honestly that awful, right? But they are giving up 3 sacks per game. But Justin Aiden O'Connell in his one start, he had 7 sacks, right? A third of their sacks came in the game, and he kind of it sits in the pocket a little too long. They like to get under center with play action and run these 2 and 3 man routes to put a fullback on the field. And O'Connell honestly will like climb up in the pocket, try and find a hole in that zone and fire that shit in. I was actually surprised at how willing he was to put that ball into some tight spots. But the thing is he'll be a little behind on horizontal throws, but there are also times where he's like, Jacoby Myers is almost triple teamed, and he fires a ball in deep down the field, and Myers goes up and gets it. And that's the other thing. If they have good receive, like Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers is a nice little wide receiver duo they have over there. So this passing offense is absolutely capable of doing some things, but it's going to be tough versus Giants defense that's going to come after them all game long, and it's going to have Dexter Lawrence up the gut, and I think they'll win the right tackle battle. And as good as Colton Miller's a solid tackle, but he's a guy who loses reps though.
They got Michael Mayer and Austin Hooper at tight end too, so these aren't bottom of the barrel skill position players that the Las Vegas Raiders have. It's great. Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, Renfro's he's not getting very much run for them. He's playing like less than 50% of the snaps sometimes.
It's kind of crazy when you had like good NFL corners have complimented him in the past about how he's a really good route runner. Maybe that changes. Maybe that's an Antonio Pierce. One thing I'm changing right away is getting Hunter Renfrow more involved in the offense. So there you go. That's something to look out for.
That was the one thing where it's like, okay, what could change, right? Because it's hard to, they played on Monday Night Football, right? They fired them Tuesday night. You can't change the game plan entirely. But if there's one thing I could see them wanting to do a little more, just as like, hey, we're going to change, it is get out of that 12 personnel, maybe take the fullback off the field a little bit and get Hunter Renfrow involved to help, which I would too if I were them, honestly, right? Like your running game fucking their running game stinks. Like they're the worst rushing team in the NFL. They're only averaging 3.1 yards per carry. They're no threat from their quarterback to run. And they're a team that lines up in 2 tight ends and puts a fullback on the field as just as much as anybody else. So I think if there's one thing that could change is that you do get into some 11 personnel quick game stuff with Hunter Renfrow and then kind of take your shots with Myers and Adams.
Yeah, I'm stereotypically thinking, what does a new head coach want to come in and do differently week 1 that isn't a drastic change to what they were doing before? And I think it's going to be, they're going to have an identity and they're going to lean into it, and they're going to win or they're going to lose with it. Whether that's running the ball, hey, we want to be a team that shows the physicality. We want to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. Lean into that. Hey, Devontae Adams is not happy. That doesn't make us happy. We want to spam and get the ball to Devontae Adams, or we want to spread it out in the quick game, and we want to make sure that this Wink Martindale blitz defense doesn't beat us. So we're going to utilize the quick game and screens. We're going to get the ball to Adams, get the ball to Myers, Hunter Renfrow in the quick game. We're going to rely on him running quick routes. So I think there's going to be an identity that Antonio Pierce is and this overall team, we want to establish from day one that we're going to be this kind of football team. And I think that's the thing that the Giants need to keep an eye out for, and they need to adjust on early. Because I don't know how many adjustments the Raiders are going to be making, like, in-game.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Giants play Devontae Adams, right? Because the Giants have went man crazy the last 2 weeks, right? Like, even much more than they were in the beginning of the season. But, like, their number one coverage they've used all season is cover one. But quarters cover four coverage, which is, like, the exact opposite, it was their number two usage, and it still is, but it's just went down the last couple of weeks where they haven't really used it at all. That I wonder if like they kind of do get back into some zones because O'Connell will sit in the pocket and then your blitzes will get there, your Dexter Lawrence, those types will get there. It's going to be interesting to see how you play them. And as good as Terry McLaurin and Garrett Wilson are, and both who essentially won their matchups with Deonte Banks, Devontae Adams worries me, right? And I went back and watched Deonte Banks closely against Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson killed him at the release, right? And if that was my worry about Banks coming in. He's been better against that, but now he's getting wide receiver one coverages. He's getting that, or he's being used as cornerback one. There's going to be like Devontae Adams. He is the king of the release, right? So if you're playing man coverage, O'Connell's going to have Devontae Adams probably all game, right? So do you get into some of those man coverage looks or less man coverage because of Devontae Adams? But Wink is also someone who notoriously doesn't like to double guys either.
Giants defense has been really good in the first half over the last couple weeks. They forced a lot of turnovers in the first half, so I think the tone is going to be set either way, whether it's going to be the Raiders offense or it's going to be the Giants defense. Tone is going to be set either way. I feel like early on what kind of game this is going to be. I don't know if the Giants offense is going to necessarily set the tone, but I think the Giants defense or the Raiders offense coming out here and being a little bit better than is expected, Giants defense has been so good. If the Giants were actually winning some games, my season expectations would change because the Giants defense over the last month has been like a top 5 defensive unit in the National Football League.
Yeah, and I don't see the only way I see that them not being great versus the Raiders is if just Devontae Adams just kind of wins the game on his own.
Yep.
And he's averaging 67 yards per game, and he could have so much more. I think Monday night was a huge eye opener for everybody on that. And Adams just being like kind of speechless. So they're going to be reinvigorated, and we are going to get their best shot. I mean, this may be their best game of the rest of the season because they're not a team that's full of talent, which neither are the Giants, but I do think the Giants are solidly more talented than the Raiders. Like, is this the worst team we're going to play for the rest of the season? Because I think the Patriots will be a harder matchup at the end of the year than this Raiders game.
Yeah, Bill's just a better coach. Say what you want about the offense, but I think their
offense is getting a little bit better.
I need to check in on the Patriots offense because they've actually had some games where they've scored way more points on the Giants.
I think this is the worst opponent because you got Cowboys. Commanders could end up being that because they just traded everyone away.
Right.
Patriots, Packers, Saints, Eagles, Rams, and Eagles. So yeah, I do think this will be the easiest opponent, the worst opponent they play the rest of the way.
I agree.
All right, Justin, let's bring on Danny King. All right, we now welcome on Danny King for weather and trivia. Danny, what's the weather going to be like in Vegas this week?
It's going to be pretty domey because the Raiders play in the dome. But also, it's just going to be like 78 degrees. It's partly cloudy. So, I mean, if you're out there in Vegas, I only know one person, that'd be LPG. It's going to be fine weather in Vegas. 80.
Victor Perez.
Victor Perez. He's good. I'm not sure if this is normal Vegas weather for this time of year. It seems nice. I would take it as a 78-degree day personally for a little football game. So no rain. I don't think it rains in Vegas anyway. So yeah, it's just gonna be a nice day. Nice day out there in Las Vegas.
Victor is going, which reminds me that we, again, like Justin said, we will be live streaming it from the Manhattan office. And that's the Just Giants podcast. And then Victor is the Just a Giants podcast. So check them out. Victor's the man.
Shout out, Victor.
Remember, Justin, when we had all the Giants podcasts on, like shows on for that 4th of July week and it was 3 hours?
Yeah, that was
Victor was the one guy we didn't have on that I look back and like, oh shit, we should have had Victor on.
It was one of the most torturous editing things I've ever done, but I also really did enjoy it. I really enjoy that. I look back at that episode fondly.
It's a 3-hour show. Now, like, we couldn't do it because like we'd leave people out, and anyways. All right, what's trivia for this week, Danny?
Sorry, I just read a Twitter post that had me ruining my Giant factor possibly. Can you name the Giant that intercepted a Raiders quarterback twice in a game? New York Giant intercepted a Raiders quarterback twice in a game.
I'm pretty sure I know this answer. Why don't you go ahead, Justin?
Aaron Ross.
Bobby?
It's just 2 years ago, Xavier McKinney.
Oh, Bobby's on his game. I thought I was going to trip you all up, thinking we were going way back, but it is Xavier McKinney, 2021. He intercepted Derek Carr, I believe that was quarterback, twice in a game, and in which a game the Giants won. The Raiders were 5-3. The Giants ended up winning. I forgot the final score off the top of my head, but I think it was like Giants 30. Nope, Giants 23, Raiders 16. Giants scoring 30 points. What am I on about?
Nope.
The Giants won that game. That was the game before the bye week, and then they didn't fire Jason Garrett, and then they fired him after the bye week. All right, it's time for trivia, fantasy, where we pick players from the Giants and the team that they are playing. Danny will be picking first. He's in first place with 277.1 points. Justin will be picking second. He's in last place, 20 points back from Danny, and I am in second place, 7 points back from Danny. But I said, Justin totally screwed up the Breece Hall, Wan'Dale Robinson, not realizing Breece Hall was available because he wasn't paying attention. And this was a league-shattering decision, because if Justin took Breece Hall last week, and Danny probably would have taken Wan'Dale Robinson, right? You would have probably taken Wan'Dale Robinson, right, Danny?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, probably. Yeah, yes.
Justin would be in first place, and Danny King would be in last place. Instead, Justin's in last, and Danny's in first place.
Still won last week.
Hey, no, fair point.
You that might be the biggest loss in fantasy history. And again, I will go, if it's close to the end of the year, I'm going to go revisit that. So it's screwed us all. But we all are very close, within 20 points. We would have been all within 19 points if Justin didn't have the biggest gaffe in fantasy history.
That's
but
right.
Danny, you have the first pick this week, and I actually don't think it's easy. But go ahead.
It isn't. I was looking. I was crunching the numbers. I was stuck between two running backs. Surprisingly, I was stuck between. Bobby does agree with me. Oh, I know. There's the other guy I was thinking about. Don't get me wrong, but there's a part of me, because the Raiders, in all honesty, give up a lot of points to running backs. You look at it: 31 in New England, 40 against Chicago, 37 against the Detroit. The Raiders give up points to running backs, and the Giants are still very much a run-the-football team. Whether Daniel Jones is fully healthy enough to go out there and sling the rock, the Giants got to run the ball. I'm taking Saquon. That's a no-brainer to me.
Okay. So Danny is kicking it off with Saquon Barkley. Justin, who is your first pick?
I will be going with Davante Adams.
Yeah, Davante Adams would have been my first pick too. Again, we are in PPR, which makes such a huge difference. He's going to get the rock.
Oh, of course.
He's going to be force-fed the rock this week. I'm going to open this sliding glass door. Hopefully it doesn't mess anything up. All right, so Justin goes Davante Adams. All right, so obviously I would have liked to have Saquon or Davante Adams, but for this week, because it gets so muddy after the first four, I kind of like having it. So I'm going to go Jacoby Myers, pick one. It's too loud. I'll have the office set up for next Wednesday show because I'll be up in New York. I'm going to go Jacoby Myers. He's actually having a pretty good year. Aiden O'Connell showed the willingness to fire that ball into him. And then Josh Jacobs, right? We talked about maybe adding, making Hunter Renfrow a part of, the offense as a changeup, but a more predictable one for an Antonio Pierce would be like, we're going to run the damn ball. So Josh Jacobs is going to get volume, and Aiden O'Connell is very much like deep to check down, and it's going to lead to some Josh Jacobs check down. So I get Myers and Josh Jacobs. I'm going Raiders with my picks. Justin, your second pick.
I would play it safe. Darius Slayton is the number one target on the Giants right now. Darren Waller's out. I think Daniel Bellinger is still going to be used as a blocker more than as a receiver, so I'm not looking for like, oh, Bellinger's going to take over that role, obviously. So give me Darius Slayton.
Now that Darren Waller might be out for some time, it's most likely that Darius Slayton will be our leading receiver for the fourth time in 5 years. Right now, Waller's their leading receiver, but Slayton is probably going to end up taking that title again, which is very funny. All right, Danny, you got back-to-back picks.
Have there been any? I'm assuming they're going to call up Lawrence Cager this week, correct? Am I
You'd have to assume that, though. It's
I'm
not
assuming
a fact.
that. I'm assuming that. I'm assuming that. I just didn't know if they brought in any other tight ends for tryouts or all that fun jazz. Yeah, it gets brutal. We're in brutal territory here, gentlemen. And I feel like I'm going real homerish here, but like there's a strong chance right now I'm taking two Giants. So I'm going to take Wandale first. Wandale, obviously, hopefully he can get back on track. His last good game really came against Buffalo. Before that with Daniel Jones, he had 6, 9, and then 6 again. So maybe Wandale gets on track this week. And then this is where I really don't like my options because obviously the Raiders have Michael Mayer at tight end, but he hasn't really done much. They got Austin Hooper as well. But I think, man, the Giants, I think, could just kind of shut down Mayer. And I do think Daniel Bellinger, obviously, he's going to be used as a block situation, but I think Daniel Bellinger's going to obviously get more targets. I'm gonna take Daniel Bellinger. I'm sorry. This could ultimately hurt me in the end, but I'm not really feeling anyone else, especially with Darius Slayton taken.
I mean, I don't even have Michael Mayer next to my big board, but I think taking Bellinger over Mayer is wild. In a sense, it's probably going to end up working. Justin, who do you got?
Big swing, Hunter Renfrow. Get him back involved in the offense a little bit. Maybe he gets some more targets, or maybe he's banished for a reason and Antonio Pierce doesn't like him.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Hopefully we get a nice 0-0 game for him. So I lied. Michael Mayer is next to my big board.
That was good
but
chess.
So I will be taking him. I'd make a great GM with all these smoke screens. I'd be the king of GM smoke screens.
Yeah, just as good as Gettleman.
And you know what? I'm actually excited. I'm going to go Lawrence Cager. Like, who do you expect to have more catches? Lawrence Cager, Jalen Hyatt, or Isaiah Hodgins?
Lawrence Cager.
I know. I kind of agree. Like, they stopped the big play, so it's not going to be a Hyatt game. Now, are they going to give – this could be a good Hodgins game, but is Hodgins going to get the reps to be what he is? Which, again, even when he was in that starting rotation, he wasn't like a great receiving yards guy. He was a great catch rate guy and then a red zone guy. So I'm going to go Lawrence Cager with my pick. Justin, who's your last pick?
Who's my last pick? Man, make it a Giant, Justin, but I feel like there's nobody really left.
No one left.
You have a starting receiver left.
Hodgins, right? Hyatt's left.
Yeah, Hyatt is left.
Yeah, I'll take Hyatt. Why not?
Oh, I just do not like that. I wanted him so badly.
I wish I was a freaking guru at looking up stats. I want to see who has the most receiving yards in a season while also having like 8-0 catches for 0-yard games, which is like going to be Jalen Hyatt could end up being in that. Danny, the last pick.
All right, so Justin took Hunter Renfrow at one point, correct?
Yes.
I did.
You took Michael Mayer, correct, Bobby?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Hooper!
Basically Isaiah Hodgins or Austin Hooper.
Hooper!
That's not what I'm taking. Man, I guess I gotta do it. No. No.
What
I'm
movie is
gonna
that
be
from?
taking.
Jaws.
You just spoiled it. I'll get it. I'll take Hodgins.
I feel like we can spoil Jaws at this point, Danny.
Hodgins.
That wasn't even a spoiler. That was just a name.
Hodgins. I'll go Hodgins. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling anyone here, quite frankly. But
I would have been Austin Hooper for the record. But we'll see. Danny's in first place, so I guess he should be giving me the advice.
I went too many Giants. Many Giants.
Danny went all Giants, which I actually think if you're going to go, I went all Raiders except for Lawrence Cager. So Lawrence Cager, you are the only Giant I'm rooting for on Sunday. So to recap, Danny has Saquon, Wan'Dale Robinson, Daniel Bellinger, and Isaiah Hodgins. Justin has Devontae Adams, Darius Slayton, Hunter Renfrow, and Jalen Hyatt. And then I have Jacoby Myers, Josh Jacobs, Michael Mayer, and Lawrence Cager. It's time for Giant Factors. Justin, Who is the most important Giant factor this week?
Oh, the most important
clean.
Giant factor is, you know what? Actually, Factor. Oh my gosh, Factor has changed my life. And with the
We
busy
get a
fall,
Giant factor box.
with the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jammed-packed days. And Factor, America's #1. And when they say #1, they're not lying. America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit can help you fuel up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Guess what? It's been a while since we've had a Factor Giant Factor ad read. I've continued to buy into Factor. It's my favorite partner that we have ever because it's changed my life. I come home from a busy day at the office, or even you can hear it this week. I'm not feeling that great. I got a new box of Factor this week, put it right in the microwave, put it right on my plate. I feel like I have a home-cooked, chef-prepared dinner right in front of me. High protein, tastes great. I don't need to doctor it up really at all that much. Factor is the best. Head to factormeals.com/Giants50 and use code Giants50 to get 50% off. That's code Giants50 at factormeals.com/Giants50 to get 50% off. Bobby Skinner and Danny King, you'll be glad you did.
You'd be glad you did. I love Factor. They actually are good. Now that I'm moving in here, I actually might have to get myself like re-up my plan because they are very good. And I'm running out of my last plan. All right, Giant Factor. Danny, you do have the first pick this week.
Now look, we're at that point in the season. I'm gonna have a little fun with it. Now, I was gonna say Graham Gano. All right. However, there are multiple kickers in there trying out. One of them is Robbie Gould. So my Giant factor this week in general is the kicker, whoever it is. I am tired of kicking costing us, special teams costing us games. I'm tired about. But Graham Gano last week, I understand he's hurt. Why is he playing then? That's a good question anyone could ask. We had 2 kicks that would have won us the game ultimately, and the Giants couldn't convert. I don't care if Will McDonald was lined up illegally. Guess what? Make a field goal, please. Yeah, so I just want a kicker that can kick the football in. And if that is Graham Gano, if McGahee said if he's 80 to 85%, he's better than most kickers. Then why have we not seen that from Gano with all these missed field goals? So I just want to we trot out a field goal kicker out there Sunday that will make a field goal ultimately and give the Giants a chance to win the game. I don't want special teams being a liability. I want us to be something that right now we can at least trust to hit a field goal, whether it's a 40-yard, a 30-yard, a 50-yard. I'm so over it. So whether it is Graham Gano, Robbie Gould, or whatever other kicker is walking through this facility right now, be a Giant factor. Just make your field goals. It is the bare minimum I am asking. We are all asking. It's the simplest gig. Please just make a field goal, Graham Gano or whoever. You're my Giant factor. The kicker. The kicker.
The Giants working out 4 kickers on a Thursday. I mean, that is like...
And they're traveling across the country.
That's late in the week to be like you do your workouts on Monday and Tuesday, to be having it on a Thursday, right? Like you got to think at least one of them is being signed to the practice squad. Like one of them has to, and they're not just random. Like they're vets. Robbie Gould is one of them. What are the other ones?
Mason Crosby.
Yeah, like these are like guys who.
It's Robbie Gould, Mason Crosby, Randy Bullock, and Matthew Wright. The only two that stick out to me is Robbie Gould and Randy Bullock personally.
Mason Crosby, the guy who kicked for the Packers for over 10 years, doesn't?
It doesn't.
He sticks out, but he's also been kind of ass recently.
Has he been?
Yeah, I don't think he ended his career very well with the Packers in terms of kicking. I could be tripping, but like in terms of names that I would want right now, I would probably take Robbie Gould or Randy Bullock.
I trust you with special teams prowess.
All right, well maybe don't trust me that much, but Robbie Gould,
I would trust Robbie Gould.
Robbie Gould, solely. Please give me Robbie Gould,
former Giant.
He revamped his career after that year with the Giants.
He did.
And I remember his revenge game versus the Bears. Remember how windy it was? I think he missed like 2 kicks in that game, but the other kicker missed more. All right.
I could be tripping about Mason
Justin,
Crosby.
who's your Giant? That's the longest time we've ever spent on a Giant factor. Justin, who's your Giant factor?
Yeah, then I'll be quick. A'Shawn Robinson is my Giant factor this week. I would hate if we're coming to you live from the John Boy Media Manhattan studio on Sunday night, and we're talking about how Josh Jacobs ran all over this Giants defense when he's averaging like 3.1 yards per carry. And I hate if the talking point is going to be, well, the Giants just traded away Leonard Williams. And you see what happens when Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence aren't on the field together. You see the bad things that are going to happen. Well, A'Shawn Robinson has played well this year, but this is going to be the first time where he's going to be thrusted into that starting role. The Giants have been using a lot of 3 defensive lineman formations. They've been using a lot of 2 defensive lineman formations on all 3 downs. So A'Shawn Robinson, if you're out there on 3rd down, can even push the pocket a little bit, generate some pressure, help Dexter Lawrence out. Is Dexter Lawrence still going to be as effective on the field even without Leonard Williams? And I think A'Shawn Robinson taking care of his business will be a huge factor in that. So A'Shawn Robinson, go out there and be a giant factor.
You are a giant factor, A'Shawn. I'm going to go Daniel Bellinger. Back into a starting role. We're going to need to get you some like receiving like role out of, receiving impact out of you, especially with Daniel Jones, right? As we try and get to some of those, facing a team that's not going to give you explosives, but you're going to have to get some checkdowns that aren't always going to be, the quick game working to the wide receiver. So I'm going to go Daniel Bellinger, and he's your only blocking tight end in the run game, and the Giants are going to want to run the ball in this game. So we're going to need him to – they're going to move him all over the place. He's going to line up a fullback in motion. They're going to use him in a multitude of ways. And if he can really get in there and get some wood on these linebackers and widen some edges in the outside zone, I think the Giants' run game can be really, really impactful in this game. So I'm going to go Daniel Bellinger as my giant factor. All right, spread picks. I'm kind of over spread picks. I went 2-5 last week. I'm 24-37 in last place. Justin went 4-3. Danny went 3-4. They're tied at 27-34. And the listeners are 31-30. So they could go under 500 this week. They've not
slipping.
had some
They're
great
slipping.
weeks. They're 2-5. They went 2-5. So I am a big like misery loves company guy. So if I'm going to suck at spread picks, I'm really rooting for the listeners to also be below 500. So no one like if I can't win, no one wins. Danny, who is spread picks brought to us by?
I mean, the rumor says that DraftKings is back with another week of football, and I can confirm that it is because DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw $5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers could take advantage of 2 new game day offers every day this November. So right now, as Justin is on his phone, he is downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I can guarantee it right now. So football's more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app and sign up with promo code WORLD. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code WORLD. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms, eligibility terms, and responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Guys, you would be glad you did.
You'd be glad you did. All right. First game this week. I'm actually really excited for this Thursday night football game. We got Titans at Steelers -3. The listeners, represented by James Kelleher, are going Titans +3. Justin, who do you got in this one?
This is tough for me, man. I'm going to go Steelers -3. They're home, and this is Will Levis's second game, and I'm a firm believer in you get a lot of not benefit of the doubt, but you put a lot of things on tape through the first matchup. Now a team knows what to expect. Now a team knows how to defend it. Micah Fitzpatrick ain't going to allow 3 touchdowns of 29-plus yards this Thursday night. I'll tell you that much. So give me Steelers -3.
Danny, you and Justin are tied. Are you going to go with the Titans so that someone is in second and someone's in third for the graphic on Sunday?
Makes it seem like I'm a loser following Justin, but I am going to follow Justin to take the Steelers here. I just like the Steelers in this game over the Titans. Obviously, Will Levis had a good game, But I feel like Mike Tomlin's going to cook something up in that kitchen that leads the Steelers to covering this spread and outright winning this game probably.
I disagree. I think the Titans are going to win this game. I think the Titans are going to start getting back on track a little bit with Will Levis. They're not going to ask him to do a ton, but he is going to allow them to get their running game going. I'm going Titans +3. We got game of the year Sunday morning in Germany. Dolphins at Chiefs -1. We got to pick them in Germany. I'm going Dolphins +1. I think they are excited. They're going to get rolled. This is their game, right? Like this is a big game for the Chiefs too, but they're a team that's won Super Bowls. The Dolphins who are ascending, I think this is the game they want to be there. The Chiefs who have won it all, like they're, Valdez Scantling has a quote saying, yeah, it sucks coming over, going to Germany. I think the Dolphins are going to be ready to go. They're going to be prepared. I'm going Dolphins +1. The listeners agree. Danny, do you agree?
I read somewhere the Chiefs are only getting to Germany on Friday,
and that has worked badly for all the other teams that have done that this year too.
That's what I'm thinking because the Dolphins are already over there. I know the Dolphins don't perform that well on in an away game format usually, but I think the Dolphins are just gonna outright. Well, it's a pickup, so I think the Dolphins win this game. I think they're gonna make a statement against the Chiefs in good old Germany, and I think that time travel delay will also affect the Chiefs mightily.
Justin.
I want to go Dolphins because that's what I really want, but everybody's going Dolphins, so I kind of want to go Chiefs. No, I'll go Dolphins. I actually think that they're gonna. I think sometimes a lot of these overseas games, it kind of comes down to who's going to run the ball better because it's such different playing conditions and shit like that. And the Dolphins do run the ball very well, so give me the Dolphins.
So we got a clean sweep. We got Seahawks at Ravens -6. The Ravens are really rolling. But I'm going to go Seahawks +6. I think the Ravens win this, but I think the Seahawks keep it close. They've been keeping it close and basically every game. And they got Leonard Williams now, so they're going to be amazing. Leonard Williams, the Seattle. By the way, we didn't talk about. Does Pete Carroll just watch tape of players when they're playing the Seahawks? Because that's when Leonard Williams has been his best. The last 4 years, it's been his best games are against the Seattle. His best game of 2020 is against the Seahawks, and his best game of 2022 was against the Seahawks. Yes. I'm going Seahawks +6 though. Listeners are going Ravens. Justin, who do you got?
Yeah, this is my John Boy Media against the spread league pick. I like the Ravens. I also like the Seahawks. These are two teams that I kind of like this year. Sneaky teams. I think the Seahawks are at least going to cover. So, yeah.
Daniel.
I'm going Seahawks as well. Like you said, the Leonard Williams trade. I'm rooting for them now. I like Leonard Williams. I also don't really mind the Seahawks. I think they're fine people. So yeah, give it the Seahawks to win this game. Not win this game, to cover the spread. I think they could keep this game within the 6-point margin.
Commanders at Patriots -3. I'm going Patriots -3. Commanders, this is going to be a really bad second half of the season for them. So I'm going Patriots. Justin.
Yeah, they just traded away, two of the best pieces of their team. And if the I feel like if the Giants defense had success against Sam Howell, I think Bill's going to be able to replicate that. So Patriots -3.
Danny.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with y'all. I do want to go with the Commanders here. But yeah, I mean, they just have fully thrown in the towel. They're just setting up Ron Rivera for failure, which is kind of funny. So yeah, I'll take the Patriots -3.
Ron Rivera set himself up for his own self up for failure.
He also, that is fair.
But they are setting him up for failure now. Listeners are going Commanders, so listeners versus everyone. Cardinals at Browns -8 in the we traded Josh Bowles this season game. The only reason I put that in here was just so I could say that for this bowl game. I'm going to go Browns -8. They're my team this year, and I think the Browns defense is going to make Clayton Tune wish he never got drafted into the NFL. Danny?
As fun as it would be if Clayton Tune beats the Browns and covers the spread at a minimum, I don't see it. Like you said, the Browns defense is just so good. So good. And they're still without James Conner. I'm not even sure if Zach Ertz might even be on IR.
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, so yeah, Clayton Tune, you're set up for failure, bud. So good luck.
Or maybe Kyler comes back this week. Justin, who do you got?
Cardinals cover.
Respect to Justin. I really do.
Listeners agree. That's the first pick that you and Danny have disagreed on. So that could be end up being the decider. So you guys will be interested in the you traded Josh Dobbs this regular season bowl. Bucks at Texans -2.5. I think the Texans' lack of talent is going to start to catch up with them. I'm going Bucks +2.5. Listeners are going Texas. Justin, who do you got?
I think this is going to be a kind of a boring game. I think the Texans take care of business, though. Texans -2.5.
Danny?
I just dropped my phone. Texans -2.5 as well. It really seems like I'm just following Justin on everything, but I do genuinely believe in CJ Stroud, Nico Collins. Maybe I'm also biased because I got Nico Collins in fantasy. But yeah, I think that's still win.
I'm actually hoping you guys agree on everything so that the you traded Josh Bowles this year bowl ends up being the decider of who's in second place next week. Cowboys at Eagles -3. It's a shame that we won't get to watch this game because we'll be live for this game.
There's multiple TVs.
We have the NASCAR race on too. Justin, who do you got?
We have a lot of TVs. Man,
I'm willing to stay live after the game for the NASCAR race, like if we're already live.
Eagles -3, right? Cowboys have been one of the quieter teams over the last month. I feel like nobody's really talked about them.
Because are we at a point now where we just stop buying into the Cowboys? Like they stop fooling us that they're going to be a second round out in the playoffs,
I think
or
so.
first round out. Like have we? So I'm going Eagles -3. Listeners are going Eagles -3. Danny, who are you going?
Be different.
I am going to be different. I will go to Cowboys here.
Yes.
Cowboys +3. I still look at the Eagles. They're a good team. They're going to win the NFC East. They're probably going to go to the NFC Championship game. All that fun jazz. I just don't see that same they just don't scare me as much as they did last year. Like I know they will crush the Giants on any given Sunday. Something different about them this year, and I really can't figure it out for me right now.
Game of the week: Bills at Bengals -1.5. Rematch of the divisional series last year. Danny, who do you got?
Oh, do the Bills go into? Well, Bills are 3-5 against the spread this year. That's shocking. Bengals are 3-4 against the spread. I think the Bengals are turning it up. I'm going to take the Bengals here, but just like how I was talking smack about the Eagles, the Bills are also just not that good of a team this year either. So I think the Bengals will cover the spread and most likely outright win it.
Listeners are going Bills. Justin, who are you going?
Joe Burrow's been the best quarterback in the NFL over the last month. Bengals have been one of the best teams in the NFL over the last month after being one of the worst through the first month. Give me the Bengals -1.5.
Yeah, I'm getting back in on the Bengals. And obviously they had that playoff game last year. Lou Anarumo is really going to dial up a really nice defense for the Bills. So I'm going to go Bengals. So because you guys only disagreed on 2 picks, you will either be tied or someone will have a 2-game difference for second place. All right. That is spread picks. Danny, what is your score prediction for Giants Raiders?
I really want to go Giants here. I do, but what do we say all the time? The interim head coach game, it gets the job done. If I could be talking, I should have looked this up before I said this, but I think last year when the Colts hired Jeff
they
Saturday,
won that first game.
They won that first game. So
against the Raiders.
Against the Raiders. I see that was the mindset right there. So I believe in the interim head coaching. Raiders are going to win. If they're going to ball out, this is the game. The Raiders are going to win. Raiders, I think. Oh, man, I'm going to say I think Raiders get 30 points. Boom. Raiders get 30.
No way.
No, I don't know. I'm just really buying into the head coach.
Give a score prediction.
You give a score prediction, Danny.
30-17. 30-17.
Justin, what's your score prediction?
We'll jump off the fucking 15th floor from our fucking office building if the Raiders score 30 points against us. And you will have to do the podcast because I'll be dead. Yeah, I believe in the interim head coach thing too, but too bad. Giants are going to win 20-16.
20-16. I thought you were going to say they were going to score 23.
Nope.
There's only one more game this year where I will be more confident in the Giants. And that has only to do with myself because I will be there for the Patriots game. So I am going to go Giants 77, Raiders 0. Not as much fun saying that, but I do believe it. So the Giants are going to win 77-0. Again, come hang out with us live because you know what? It's going to be a lot more enjoyable listening to us in the Just Giants podcast live during the game on YouTube. So make sure to do that. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. we will see you with the Victory Monday. And guess what? We gotta savor the Victory Mondays that we get for the rest of the year. So enjoy it. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.